mentioned Medrash that the Bizas Hayom, the spoils of the sea, were given specifically to us, so a Jew should not withhold his generosity when it comes to the Mishkan. There was a tremendous amount of wealth that was needed for the Mishkan, so there should not be any holdbacks. Hashem gave this overwhelming amount of wealth in addition to the spoils that we took out of Egypt. And it's explicit in the Midrash. The wealth they took out of Egypt, that was for them. But the Bizas Hayam, the spoils of the sea, was specifically for this. Yet we find something very interesting. When it speaks about there were two categories of people who donated to the Mishkan. All those, the Ish, which is a word used for a level of distinction, Ish, who was inspired by his heart, also, and the person who gave as a result of the generosity of his spirit. We find the word Ish associated with the soul libo, with the one who was inspired by his heart. But when it speaks of a person who was motivated, generous, due to his generous spirit, the word Ish is not mentioned. Evidently, it's a lesser level. So the Rechaim HaKodesh explains, you find a person who's inspired by a cause, even though he may have a limited amount of resources, but because he's so taken by whatever that objective is, although he has less, he gives like a wealthy man. And a person who only gives due to his generosity, he will only give to a point where it doesn't infringe on what his own needs are. He's generous. To what point are you generous? To the point that I'm able to be generous. Beyond that, I'm not able to give more. So the person who gives, who's motivated because he's in the soul libo, because he's taken, he's inspired by his heart. When you're inspired, you're totally taken. You're subsumed by that inspiration. And you give even beyond your means. But the person only gives not for rucho, as a result of the generosity of spirit, it's with a limitation. It's only, I can only give up to this point, not more, because beyond that point, I compromise my own financial stability. Therefore, I don't give beyond that point. And there were two categories of people who donated to the Mishkan. Asher Sol Libo, those who were inspired by their hearts, and those who gave, as a result, the generosity of spirit. It's interesting. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him so much wealth beyond the spoils of Egypt. The spoils of Egypt is a question, either the least amount of wealth that was taken out of Egypt was either 10 pack-out animals or 40 pack animals of gold and silver. And this is additional to that. And on top of all that, we always speak about a person who's not for rucha. It's only due to generosity of spirit, because beyond that point, he feels he's compromising or putting his financial stability into jeopardy. It's difficult to relate to. But factually, a person who's not taken by something, there's always the concern, maybe I'm giving, it will be infringing on my own needs, and therefore he doesn't give more than that. We find that Avram Avinu, we parallel Avram Avinu to Bilam HaRosh Lahavdil, Avram Avinu, Vayashkim Avram Baboker. And we find Bilam Vayashkim Bilam Baboker. Avram rises to go to the Akedah. Avram Avinu was 137 years old. He was a wealthy man, and yet he hitches his own donkey. Vayachlosh Eschamoro. Bilam, who's going to curse Klal Yisrael, he rises early in the morning. Vayachlosh Esasono. He hitches his own donkey. So Chazal extrapolate from each one of these situations. Mikan she'ahavu makalkelis es ashura, umikan asin makalkelis es ashura. That a person who's consumed with love, it disrupts all levels of protocol, and a person who's ridden with hate, rabid hate, it also disrupts all levels of protocol. Bilam, the man was haughty, pompous, beyond our understanding, and yet he hitches his own donkey. The answer is asin mekalkel sashura. Hate overrides and subsumes all protocol. What's the understanding? It's the same concept. A person who loves Hashem, do we have Avram loved Hashem? At that moment, there's no Avram Avinu, there's no man who's 137 years old, there's no man who has servants, slaves, nothing. It's something, it's his privilege, his honor, all that exists is Kavod Shamayim. If that's the case, he hitches his own donkey. This is an expression of what? Of Nesol Libo. He's inspired. He's taken. The other one is subsumed with hate. And because he's subsumed with hate, Bilam, regardless of how self-centered and self-absorbed he was, nevertheless, at that moment, all that existed was to destroy Klal Yisrael.